Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. Well, if you don't laugh, you'd cry. The absolute state of British boxing in 2023 is that of desperate, waning, dying, decrepit. You know, it's like an old street dog that is riddled with arthritis, infested with fleas, no teeth, mangy fucking fur. It's got a limp. It just needs to get, taken out back and, put down. That's the state of British boxing in 2023. Oh, God help us all. God help us all. Dillian Whyte versus Anthony Joshua 2 is off. Dillian Whyte had an adverse finding in his VADA test. So Eddie Hearn all of a sudden once again recognises VADA, whereas in the past few months he's really been undermining the importance of VADA when it comes to fights being held in the UK due to them not being recognised by UKAD, etc. And that was his whole shtick with the Conor Benn situation. Bear in mind, until that news was leaked, Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. was going to go ahead, despite Conor Benn failing two VADA tests for Clomid. And now, it really just... I'm not mad at Dillian Whyte. All of these guys are on something to a certain degree. I'm disappointed because I was actually looking forward to this fight somewhat. I was actually somewhat looking forward to it, believe it or not. But yeah, I'm not mad at Dillian Whyte. It's to be expected at this stage. But really, this kind of highlights what I've been saying about drugs in boxing and drug testing in boxing for a long time. Let's just be honest. If the boot was on the other foot, do you think Matchroom would have come out with a statement revealing the details, revealing that, let's say, AJ had a adverse finding in his test? Of course not. They'd be getting lawyered up straight away, looking at ways to get the fight on, much like they did with Conor Benn. Because VADA testing in the UK, especially additional VADA testing, all it really serves is as another protection for the A-side fighter. As we've seen here, Dillian Whyte is the B-side. He's not technically signed with Matchroom. He goes on a fight-by-fight contract. He is kind of expendable, and we all know AJ is the cash cow. So in the event of something like this, of course the B-side guy is going to get thrown under the bus. And that's what we'll see with Dillian Whyte. I actually suspect, again, we don't know yet, if it's a banned substance like a performance enhancer, I suspect Dillian will actually receive some sort of punishment this time around. Because ultimately Dillian is what he is now. He's 35. There's not much left juice to squeeze out of him. And yeah, he's seen better days at this point in time. He's not as relevant as he once was. And again, he's the B-side, so he's going to get thrown under the bus on this occasion. However, you contrast that with the Oscar Rivas situation. Failed a test before the fight transpires. Team Rivas didn't even know that. Fight happens, and the news breaks after the event. Dillian was protected. He was lawyered up. And he was helped out by the powers that be in boxing to continue his career. Because, he was on the verge of a title shot, a WBC title shot. There was a lot of money on the line for Dillian Whyte at that point in time. He really had significant stake in the game, and we saw how he was treated when he was the A-side fighter, right? He was allowed to fight Oscar Rivas, despite testing positive beforehand. Again, Team Rivas wasn't alerted. Fight went ahead like nothing happened, and then after the fact, it all comes out, and eventually Dillian Whyte gets cleared. Funnily when, he's got stake in the game, there's a lot of money riding on him, WBC title shot, etc. Now here we are, a few years later, Dillian Whyte once again has an adverse finding before a fight, this time as the B-side, this time when he's not got as much stake in the game. And all of a sudden, the fight gets called off. The fight gets postponed. So again, all of this additional VADA testing in the UK really is just to keep the B side in check, more so than the A side. It is the most obvious example of weaponized drug testing I've seen. The most obvious example. But yeah, Dillian Whyte versus AJ has now been cancelled. Dillian Whyte is out of a fight. But it appears that the card is very likely to still go ahead. According to reports, they are trying to find Anthony Joshua a new opponents. If you look on the card, there are some heavyweights fighting. Filip Hrgović, Dempsey McKean, Derek Chisora and Gerald Washington. I would imagine one of those four would be the most likely opponents for Anthony Joshua. I would like to see Hrgović step in. I think Hrgović now needs basically a sink or swim fight. Let's see how good this guy is. Why not, I would say. I'd like to see that fight, Filip Hrgović versus Anthony Joshua. But I suspect they'll go down a level from Filip Hrgović because, again, Hrgović could be a banana skin. He was a very good amateur, of course. Not really impressed as a pro so far, but could be very dangerous. So I doubt it's going to be Hrgović. I wouldn't be shocked if it's Dempsey McKean. Or even a Gerald Washington. I don't think it's going to be Derek Chisora. I believe AJ and Chisora are friends, and I think Chisora is signed and managed by Anthony Joshua, so I don't really suspect that fight to happen. But could you imagine Derek Chisora versus Anthony Joshua on pay-per-view at the O2? Can you imagine in 2023? 7 months ago, by the way, Eddie Hearn was saying, oh, Chisora needs to retire. He took too much punishment against Tyson Fury. And can you imagine if he puts Chisora in there with Anthony Joshua 7 months later? It would really just highlight what an absolute cretin and a liar Eddie Hearn is. And I wouldn't be surprised, you know. I wouldn't be surprised, but listen, I'm disappointed that this fight's been called off, but am I surprised? Not really. We've been seeing the way British boxing's going lately. So yeah, this is just another complete fuck up. But, you know, it's content, I guess, right? People are going to make a lot of videos on it. I'll be looking forward to seeing some of those videos. There's so many of these adverse findings now in the UK. You know, people pick and choose when they're mad, you know, when due process has to be followed. Nobody gives a fuck about drug testing, like I keep on saying. Let these guys juice. Just let these guys do what they want. You know, mutual consent, let them get at it. If they don't like it, retire. Simple as that. But anyway, share your thoughts below. Are you surprised? And what are your predictions in relation to this developing story? Bear in mind, we don't know what substance Dillian's popped for as of yet. Listen, for all we know, it could be something recreational, like weed or cocaine. Who the fuck knows? But he's tested positive for something, and the fight is off. So there you go. Let me know below. I think Dillian Whyte this time around, he will be thrown under the bus, because the drug testing agencies in the UK and the drug testing industry surrounding the UK has looked bad for quite some time, with the first Dillian Whyte situation, with Tyson Fury, now with Conor Benn. I have a feeling they'll throw this guy under the bus now. I think it's Dillian's time. He's got no more skin left in the game. You're going to see this guy get thrown under the bus. Heard it here first. Peace.